This is the story of a name that strikes fear like a shadow in the dark. Baba Voss, the untold terror. He wasn't just a leader, he was a slayer, the kind of man who could carve through any trial, and if anyone dared threaten what was his, he'd shove a blade down their throat and rip their tongue from within. It was the end of the 21st century, when a deadly virus wiped out nearly all of humanity. Less than 2 million survived, but every single one of them lost their sight. And for generations that followed, blindness was the only reality. Vision became nothing more than a dangerous myth, a curse whispered in fear, and anyone who dared speak of it was branded a heretic. But fate had other plans, because children were about to be born who could change everything. As Magra screamed through the agony of childbirth, her tribe, the Alcheni, were bracing for annihilation. Scouts with senses sharper than any beast smelled an invading force crawling up the valley. Baba Voss, her husband and the war chief of the Alcheni, seized command, his voice like thunder rallying warriors to the wall. They scoured the forest, hunting for intruders, but the real danger came rolling in. A swarm of horsemen, dozens up front with hundreds thundering behind, their intent as vicious as wolves on blood. Baba raised the war horn and roared, "This is our home. We fight to the death to protect it." In the heart of the tribe stood Paris, the wise elder, a guide whose spirit was the glue of their people. She feared the truth. The soldiers marching on them were witch-finders of Queen Sibeth Cain, hunting for someone within their very walls. Their suspicions turned to horror when one of their own broke under torture. Gather Backs, a traitor who spilled everything. 6 months earlier, a wandering woman stumbled into the tribe, pregnant and desperate, begging for sanctuary. Baba Voss, unable to father children of his own, claimed her as his wife and gave her shelter. She never spoke of the man who had left her carrying his blood, but she wore a necklace etched with a single name, Jeromel, the very heretic condemned by Queen Cain, the man General Tamakti Jun had been sent to hunt. Jeromel wasn't here, but his unborn children were. And in the shadows of the mountains, with an army closing in, Baba Voss stood ready to spill rivers of blood to protect the woman, the tribe, and the child destined to rewrite the fate of the world. Tamakti Jun wasn't rushing into bloodshed. He wanted to crack open the Alcheni's defenses, to study how they protected themselves before striking. But destiny didn't wait. In the chaos of thunder and war drums, Magra gave birth to twins. First a boy, then a girl. On the ridge, Baba Voss and his warriors crouched in silence, their ears tuned to the growl of hunting dogs. The enemy had reached the stone wall, climbing like shadows in the rain. The Alcheni struck first, lashing whips and clubs from above, but the witchfinders were no fools. They adapted, scaling the wall, turning the battleground into a frenzy of steel and flesh. Though blind, their senses were sharpened like wolves, and the fight devolved into raw primal carnage. For every soldier that fell, 2 more pressed in, ladders choking the wall. With no options left, Baba Voss roared the order, "Cut the ropes." The wall collapsed in a thunderous crash, crushing dozens beneath it. But victory was short-lived. The tribe's seer felt it in her bones. The real fight wasn't over. Tamakti Jun had sacrificed half his army just to dismantle their defense, and now he waited, patient as a predator, for the rain to end. The mountain was a trap of its own making. One narrow slope led in, slick with mud, while on all other sides were cliffs and ravines that no human could cross. Their ancestors had chosen this place as a fortress, but tonight it was a cage. Panic spread, whispers turning on Baba for destroying their wall, yet he silenced them with a plan, ordering bear hide nets prepared before slipping away to his wife's side. And there, in the glow of flickering firelight, he learned the truth. It wasn't 2 children, but 4. In a world where he believed he'd never have a family, Baba now had what he'd always longed for, his blood, his legacy. But the joy was hollow, because outside, in the storm, an army waited for the skies to clear, and when the rain stopped, death itself would come climbing. The clan had already held their council without Baba, and when they emerged from the cave, whispers turned into accusations. Many believed Magra was the witch the witchfinders were hunting, because nothing like this had happened before her arrival. Some even said handing her over might save the tribe. After all, those babies weren't even Baba's. But then Baba's voice cut through the air like thunder. He roared, "Without hands or feet, who among you will carry a woman and 2 newborns down a mountain? Whoever's ready to meet the afterlife, step forward. I'll send you there myself." His defiance shook the gathering, and Magra's breath quickened. Paris then revealed the message Jeromel had left with her, a warning that the children must be prepared for a long journey. Baba wasn't standing alone anymore. His ally Arka stepped beside him.
"I stand with Baba Voss!"
Killing rope, I stand with Baba Voss.
Bow Lion, I stand with Baba!
Followed by Ilun and the warrior Bow Lion. But not everyone was loyal. Blades slid from sheaths, and for a heartbeat, the tribe was on the edge of civil war. That's when Paris intervened. The rain stopped. Witchfinders are already halfway up the mountain. Do you really think they'll spare you if you hand over the children? They'll burn every last one of you the second they suspect witchcraft. And let's be honest, this place is crawling with it. Her words stung with truth. Then she revealed something no one had dared believe, a hidden path, a bridge that could lead them out of the valley. A skeptical elder spat back, calling it a lie. For generations, the Alcheni had lived on this mountain and no one had ever seen a bridge. But Paris had no patience left. Her voice turned cold. Stay behind, and you'll be stripped, beaten, and burned. Fear cracked the crowd, and the tribe fell in line behind her. As they marched, Paris told Baba the secret. Those children's true father was the man who built the bridge, and he had left exact instructions on how to find it. Step by step, deeper than any Alcheni had ever dared to go, the tribe followed those markers until the impossible revealed itself. An enormous bridge spanning the abyss, rising out of the mist like a miracle. For the first time in their lives, the tribe saw a way forward, and there was no turning back. Tamakti June stepped into the abandoned village, his boots crunching on wet stone, but the silence was too heavy. It didn't make sense. There was no second way out. So where the hell had the tribe gone? Suspicion twisted into rage, and he unleashed the dogs. Meanwhile, on the hidden bridge, panic rippled through the line as the ropes groaned under the weight of dozens. The bridge swayed violently, snapping like a drumhead in the wind, and 2 villagers plummeted screaming into the endless canyon below. One by one, they fought their way across until only Baba remained. That's when the hounds found him, snarling in the mist, and within moments, Tamakti June was there too. The air froze. No one moved, no one breathed, until the fragile silence shattered with the cries of Magra's infants. Tamakti stretched his hand into the fog and his palm struck rope. There was a bridge. Fury flared, and he slammed gatherbacks onto the planks, snarling how the Alcheni had lived here for generations without ever finding such a thing. But there was no turning back now. The witchfinders forced him forward as bait. Then Baba made his move. His blade tore through one of the bridge ropes, the structure lurching violently. He was ready to cut the second when gatherbacks screamed for mercy. Baba froze. He knew that voice. Against every instinct, he hauled the man to safety, then slashed the final rope, sending the bridge tumbling into the abyss and buying his people their escape. But the victory was only temporary. Tamakti June's hawk took to the skies, carrying word of the betrayal to Queen Kane herself. Deep inside the colossal Kanzua Dam, the queen read his message and summoned her council. Jeromel was no longer just a traitor who had murdered her sister. He was a man with sight, a witch in her eyes. And now rumors said his children had been born, children who might see as well. That made them dangerous, priceless, and worth hunting at any cost. The queen's command was swift and merciless. Jeromel must die, and his children delivered to her throne. The Alcheni had escaped the mountain, but survival was far from guaranteed. The man who built the bridge had left them more than a path. He'd left them a future, hidden in cryptic signs only the brave dared to follow. But fear gnawed at the tribe. They wanted to know who this man really was before stepping into the unknown. That's when Magra spoke the truth. His name was Jeromel, a man she once knew well. He claimed he could see, a power lost to the world for centuries, and he preached that it wasn't a curse from the gods, but a gift humanity once shared. Proof that every tool, every relic, was crafted by human hands, not divine will. He was the witch the witchfinders wanted dead, and his very existence had brought fire and blood to the Alcheni. Yet if they followed his trail, food, shelter, and safety waited. With no other choice, the clan agreed, beginning a brutal 30-day march. They silenced their dogs, left no tracks lag, and moved across rivers as Jeromel's strange markers whispered them forward. At last, the roar of a colossal waterfall thundered through the trees, so tall it scraped the clouds. Beneath it lay the clearing he promised. They found his final instructions carved into stone. Descend by a hidden ladder. The climb was hell, but what waited below felt like a miracle. Towering cliffs guarded their flanks. A river stretched before them, and no enemy could ever breach it. Jeromel had already stocked the land with food and tools. The tribe rejoiced, settling into their new sanctuary, but Baba remained restless. Taking the children into the forest, he stumbled into danger. A bear, massive and furious, lunged. Baba fought like a beast to protect the infants, but just as death loomed, an arrow ripped through the animal's chest. Out of the shadows stepped Jeromel himself. Baba's chest tightened, certain the man had come to take the children, but Jeromel shook his head. Witchfinders hunted him endlessly, and for now, the kids were safer with Baba. Yet one day, he promised, they would walk with him into a new world he was determined to build, better than anything their ancestors ever knew. Before leaving, he gave them names, Haniwa and Kofun, so he'd know them when they were grown. Then he placed a sealed box in Baba's hands, a legacy meant only for the children when they turned 12. Inside, he said, was a treasure of knowledge, a spark powerful enough to rebuild civilization itself. And with that, he vanished into the wild. Baba dragged the box out from beneath the waterfall and laid it before Magra, telling her everything. When they pried it open, the first thing they found looked like a toy, but Magra knew better. Nothing Jeromel left behind was without purpose. Beneath it lay a message, warning that the books inside must be kept in exact order. Baba held one to his nose, puzzled. It smelled of trees, fragile and useless to him. How can this build a new world? He muttered. But Paris remembered her grandmother's stories of ancestors who carved their knowledge into pages so their wisdom would outlive them. One day, when the twins were 12, they'd be old enough to read these books. And when that time came, they alone would decide, remain with the tribe or follow Jeromel into the promise of a new civilization. Until then, Magra buried the box deep beneath the tree's roots, hidden from all eyes. But shadows already festered inside the tribe. Gatherback's betrayal was no accident. It was vengeance. Years ago, when his mother dared challenge Baba Voss's rise as chieftain, Baba and Paris burned her alive. Now, fueled by hatred and guided by his aunt, he was ready to tear the tribe apart from within. Every day, he sent messages downstream, hoping one would reach the Witchfinders and Tamakti Jun. Time raced forward, 3 long years. In that span, Tamakti turned entire villages to ash, his cruelty painting the land in fire and smoke, yet Jeromel and his children remained ghosts. Back in the valley, Baba and Magra could no longer deny the truth. The twins could see. They followed orders, navigated space, but when blindfolded, they faltered completely. Jeromel had been right. These children weren't just different. They were the spark of something new. But revelation was as dangerous as fire. If the clan discovered the truth, they'd brand the twins witches and cast them out, or worse. And with men like Gatherbacks already whispering against Magra, one slip could doom them all. The kids had grown up before anyone realized it. On the eve of their 12th birthday, Paris showed up with a gift and a reminder of the box Jeromel had left behind, the one meant to be opened when the twins turned 12. But Magra and Baba Voss had already made their choice. That box would stay buried. To them, the books inside weren't knowledge. They were a curse. If the children discovered the truth and left, their entire world would collapse. Paris didn't see it that way. To her, these kids weren't ordinary. They had the sight, a gift powerful enough to change the world. If they lived and died in the same valley, never knowing what they were capable of, then what was the point of being different? Magra shut her down, refusing to listen. But Paris wasn't done. She played her own game. In secret, she dug up the box and told Haniwa and Kofun everything. Their true father had left behind a library of books and a message. Kofun refused to accept it. To him, Baba was his only father. Furious, he stormed away. If he told Baba, Haniwa would never know the truth. But in the end, she pulled him back, and together they read Jeromel's words. A long time ago, every human could see. They built machines that flew, spoke across oceans, even reached the stars. But their own brilliance nearly destroyed the earth, and so the gift was taken away. Generations later, it returned, but only to a chosen few. I am your father, Jeromel's message declared. I gave you this gift. Use it wisely. Learn from my books. Walk the path I set. And when you're strong enough, leave the village. Find me. Together, we'll rebuild the world. What the twins didn't know was that Baba had heard everything. Heartbroken, he went straight to Paris. She confessed. She had opened the box. For Jeromel, she said it was the least they could do. He was the one who had built the bridge that saved their village, the one who cleared out the beasts that haunted the valley. All he ever asked in return was one promise, that his children would get their chance at knowledge. Baba wanted to burn it all, but Paris begged him to let it stay hidden, because if Magra ever found out, she would torch every last page. And if that happened, the twins wouldn't just lose their heritage, they'd lose their future. 5 years slipped away, and by now, Haniwa and Kofun had soaked up more knowledge than anyone in their tribe could imagine. Haniwa, sharp and restless, built her own bow from the pages of ancient books and taught herself how to hunt. She even spoke to Baba about bombs, machines of fire so powerful they could level entire cities in seconds. But with knowledge came arrogance. Haniwa began to feel untouchable, convinced she could strike anyone, anywhere, at will. Meanwhile, the clan faced a darker truth. Pregnancies were failing, children weren't surviving, and the elders whispered the reason. They'd lived too long in isolation, marrying within their own circle. The bloodline was collapsing. Genetics, DNA, clusters, words Haniwa had only seen in those books, now a reality tearing their people apart. The only cure was new blood. That meant stepping out, mingling with outsiders during festivals, finding partners beyond their borders. But Baba wouldn't allow it. He was ready to carry the burden of hiding forever if it meant keeping Magra's children safe. Then Bell Lion's mother stood against him. She reminded him that if they stayed hidden any longer, the tribe itself would fracture. People would leave, and when that happened, the witchfinders wouldn't be far behind. Reluctantly, Magra struck a deal. They would attend the festival, but no one could reveal they belonged to the Alcheni. Haniwa and Kofun begged to go, but Baba forbade it. Defiant as always, they slipped out and followed anyway. The festival was alive. Stalls crammed with food, music rising in the air, strangers searching for partners. For a moment, it felt like freedom, and then the nightmare began. A witchfinder stood at the center of it all, parading prisoners he swore were witches. In front of the cheering crowd, he set them ablaze. One by one they screamed, even though not a single one of them could see. Haniwa, horrified, tried to speak up, but Kofun clamped her mouth shut. That was the moment they understood. The fear, the secrecy, the years of hiding. It all made sense. In this world, sight wasn't a gift. It was a curse that could burn you alive. Kofun staggered away from the crowd, sick to his stomach. But the moment he slipped into the shadows, he made the mistake that would change everything. He fell straight into the hands of slavers, men who trafficked human lives like cattle and sold them in dark markets. By dawn, the festival broke into chaos, a mother screaming for her stolen daughter, and Haniwa realizing Kofun was gone too. She ran to Baba, desperate, and in seconds, the hunt began. Smoke on the horizon became their only trail, and when they reached it, the truth hit hard. An entire caravan of prisoners, Kofun among them. Then a message scratched onto wood. I'm alive. Follow this path. For Magra, it was the moment her heart cracked. Her children could read and write, a secret long buried, now laid bare. The slavers had already dragged their captives into the ruins of an old city, fortifying themselves inside a towering husk of concrete. Another plume of smoke rose in the distance, and Baba asked Haniwa one question. Were there towers standing there? Relics of the gods? Shocked, she asked how he could know. That's when he told them his past. Before he was the man they knew, he was one of them. Born into generations of slavers, raised among chains and whips, trained to break spirits. But he'd walked away, vanished into the mountains to escape that life. And now, to save his son, he would become that nightmare again. Baba forbade Haniwa from following and swore only one thing. I'll bring Kofun back. What followed was carnage. He moved like a ghost through the camp, taking guards hostage, cutting down anyone in his way. The moment Kofun cried out, the slaughter began in full. Slavers poured in from every corner, and Baba tore them apart one by one. His hearing was legendary. They said the Voss could pick up the hiss of a snake in the grass and strike before its fangs even flashed. Tonight, the legend was real. No blade, no man, no wall could hold him back. He came face to face with their leader, Wetch. To the slaver world, killing Baba Voss would be the ultimate trophy. Wetch lunged, but he wasn't ready for the monster that stood before him, because this wasn't just a father. It was the great Baba Voss, the butcher of slavers, the man who turned chains into weapons and tore tongues from throats. And in that moment, the question wasn't whether Kofun would be saved. The question was, how many men would Baba leave standing?
Your children. Where are you?
Now you're in my world.